Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, 1 gator, 2 gator, 3 gator, more. We are visiting a place where alligators are abundant.
Relatively speaking, it's not much more than your local clinic, but it is an increased cost because of the special service we provide coming into the home.
Service right to your home. How a mobile vet service can be beneficial to your pet's health. And it's one of the largest birds in the world. And he's better at the sit command than some of my dogs. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Hello and welcome to Animal Outtakes. I'm Marcia Panucci. There is a place in Florida you can go year-round and you will more likely than not see an alligator. A wild alligator in their native environment. Myakka River State Park is one of the oldest state parks in Florida. So why wouldn't it be home to one of the oldest species?
Kind of one of the neat things about this particular park is not just the fact that we have alligators, it's just the amount of alligators we have. You can see them out on the river, you can see them up at the upper lake, you can see them down at the lower lake. We have 2 large lakes here, and they have a ton of food. So it's a perfect habitat for them to call home, just based off of the food and the amount of space that they have.
Linda, you are a volunteer here at Myakka State Park, and by your badge, oh my goodness, 5,000 hours? That's a lot of time.
It's been wonderful. 13 years I've been here.
But I've been told that you also are an expert on the gators and even the crocodiles. So I think you should give us a tutorial so we will learn something today. So the first thing I notice is that we have a gator skull here because we've got a wider snout.
Yes.
This is the crocodile.
Yes.
Narrower.
Right.
But that's just the beginning of the differences. Why don't you lead us through it?
Okay. The alligator, this is a real alligator skull. It's not, this is a replica skull because crocodiles are still an endangered species. Alligators have the wide U-shaped head. You don't see many teeth because the lower jaw is a little more narrow than the upper, so they don't have that nice toothy grin. Larger teeth are in depressions in the upper palate. So that's where these big teeth nestle when the mouth is closed. That's where they nest.
And the power, the pressure, when they get a hold of something, how much? 2,000
to 2,500 pounds per square inch.
Oh.
One of the wonderful evolutionary things that has happened to them is the nose and the eyes are on the top of the head. So they can have a very low profile in the water, but still hear, see, and smell everything that's going on.
But there's also something very different that you've pointed out to me. The pupils of the eyes. The pupils are vertical.
Right. The pupils are vertical, and they're very narrow during the day, but at night they get nice and wide. They have protective membrane called the nictitating membrane, which covers the eye when they go underwater. So when I teach children, I say it's kind of like when they were in goggles. They also have another membrane that's on the back of the retina that acts like a mirror. It has reflective tissue.
Now, how smart are they?
They're very smart, even though they have a very small brain.
Really?
It's about the size of a walnut where all the information is processed. But it's full of a lot of information that they're born with, instinct. They also learn by observation. They observe their parents, other alligators, on behavior. But it's also, they learn a lot of things from humans.
So we're the teachers.
Yes, and so that's why it's so bad to feed them, because once they associate us with food, then they become dangerous.
And so real quickly, the thumbnail approach to how big is this gator when we're looking at it. We measure from the nose, is it?
Yeah, the tip of the nose.
Tip of the nose.
To the top of the head.
is 16.
Yeah, is that 15 or 16?
15 or
somewhere.
16. So he or she is going to grow to 15 or 16?
Well, that's how long they are right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Linda, you have certainly taught us about a healthy respect for these animals. And we know here at Myakka State Park, look, but don't touch. Every day at Myakka River State Park, there are 30 permits given away to the first visitors. This permit gets you back into an area of the park that a sinkhole exists. This deep hole can hold hundreds of gators. Who knows? You might just see us exploring it on another episode. If your pet needs a checkup, you call your vet and take them into a clinic. But what if your veterinarian would come to you? A mobile vet service sounds like a no-brainer. It's a way to give your veterinarian more insight into the health of your pet. Dr. Barron, we see that vehicle over there and it says Mobile Veterinarian Services. Tell us what you do.
Well, we do house call visits for various services, wellness exams, sick exams, vaccines, blood work, and then actually hospice, palliative care, and euthanasia.
Well, you covered the whole gamut.
I did.
Yeah. I would take that you would do dogs and cats, but what else do you administer to?
That's pretty much it, dogs and cats only. Depending on the situation, though, for euthanasia, we may be able to help other species.
Now, when you come to the home, how do you get to know that dog? Or is that dog going to charge you and say, I don't really like you? Whomp.
It just depends on the individual and the owner. I usually talk to him a little bit before we get to the house and when we're actually scheduling the appointment. So I do all my own answering and talking and scheduling appointments. So
now you mentioned, for example, blood tests and that type of analyzation. How do you do that mobile-wise?
Well, we draw our blood samples or we obtain a urine or fecal sample at the home with the animal and then bring them back to my house, and the lab service actually picks up the samples off my front porch. So we typically do some Adaptol, which is a calming pheromone, on a bandana that can help lessen the stress of the house call visit.
I'm sure that when you go into somebody's home, all you're concerned about, you're very focused. I've recognized that on you. You don't really care how the house looks for a lot of different reasons, but you care about that pet. What are you really looking for in addition to perhaps the problem at hand?
Correct. So their body condition, are they comfortable? Do they seem like they're limping, or are they walking normally? Weight, like I say, body condition is important. And you know, if they're experiencing any type of illness, any signs or symptoms of that.
Now, we would expect that somebody who is not very mobile, the human, would definitely be on the phone with you and say, please, Dr. Barron, come over. But there's a lot of us, including myself, who want you to come and administer to our pets. Is there an advantage for that or a disadvantage?
Absolutely. So the advantage is it is very convenient for the owner and the animal. I guess a disadvantage would be that we do have to come in and see your home and see how you live. But usually it's very low stress for the animal, for the owner, and then especially if they are in any way unable to take the pet in for their own health issues or the animals.
Now, nutrition. We're all worried about nutrition. Should we have dry food? Should we have wet food? Should we cook for our pets? What should we do? Do you also address that when you come for visits?
We do, yes, especially if there is an issue with body condition or they're overweight.
Let us talk about a subject that none of us want to face, the euthanasia. For me, because I've had so many babies in my life, I feel that the stress is so intense on that last ride that you make to the veterinarian. How do you minimize that by coming to the home? What do you do to make us feel better?
So try to make the animal and the owner as comfortable as possible. And staying in your own surroundings, in your own environment, is extremely important.
Is there any truth to the fact that the dogs and the cats will let us know when it's time to go? Because we hang on, we
Yes,
hang
we
on
do.
more for us than we do for them.
Correct, and I do believe that. A lot of times I tell clients that he or she will let you know when it's time. And you know, it just depends on the individual and the situation as far as what that actually means. But you know, a lot of owners do. They call me and say, I think he's ready. So.
But we're never ready.
We're not.
Now, if you go to a home and you diagnose a pet and you say, oh, well, we've got to have some surgery here. Well, obviously you're not going to do it in their home. What is your
Correct.
next procedure?
So I use a lot of the local clinics and relationships that I've established over the years with local veterinarians for referral for things like x-rays, surgery, dentals.
You have had the opportunity to work in an actual animal hospital, but you've chosen to do this. Why?
I want to be able to bond with my patients and their owners. And I want that one-on-one time with them and the individualized care that I get when I am in their home. I mean, there's no better way to get close with an animal and their owner.
So would you say it's working?
It is.
Stay with us. We're getting up close with this next. Many active duty servicemen and women face a dilemma as they prepare for deployment. Who will look after their canine companion until they return? Dante's Den provides temporary boarding for their dogs as they serve. We honor the trust placed in us by members of the armed forces by giving their furry friends loving care, spacious dens, on-site veterinary care, and plenty of room to run and play. For more information, go to dantesden.org or call 844-DANTES-DEN.
People have asked me what it'll cost to restore all the corals back to the way they remember. But I have to ask them, what will it cost if we don't do anything?
Welcome back. This bird is one of the largest on the planet, and you won't find them flying high up in the sky. Troy, as usual, you bring us to these wonderland places that we see these marvelous animals that we normally would not be able to get close
Very true.
to. So this is an emu.
Yes.
And an emu is part of whose family?
It's a bird, obviously. It's a part of the ratite family. It's the second largest due to body mass and height on the planet. They're out of Australia. They do very well with, I'd say, high temperatures like heat and stuff. And you wouldn't believe it, but they sure do love the pool.
Really? So, who do we have here because he's so loving?
This is Izzy.
Izzy.
Yep. And he's not even a year old yet. And we've raised him right out of the egg. We got the call and went and got him. And he lived in a little tub in the house with us with a little light on him for quite some time. And my nephew who works for me at the facility carried him all the time, around with him, followed him, and imprinted. So he's imprinted on just about everybody that's in the house, it seems like. So he's real manageable, and he just loves to eat and play and scratch. And when we get him to come over here, I'll show you. He'll even sit for you and we'll rub his
Now,
back.
he looks rather large. Has he hit full capacity
Almost.
here?
He's almost at full capacity. They'll probably get about 1.5 years and they'll fill out. Females are bigger. And believe it or not, this is the only bird on the planet that has a calf muscle.
Really?
In the wild, they're opportunistic. Lizards, seeds, anything they can catch in the wild is pretty much what they consume. These animals can be dangerous. You know, you see this emu today, but you can't just go into any environment with an emu. It may turn around and kick you, and it can cut you. Their feet are very dangerous. They almost look like a velociraptor. And when they fight, they have long nails. And if they jump up and scratch you, they can open you up. So it's not that it can't be a dangerous animal, but if you have something like that and you work with it and you respect it and it respects you, you have quite an amazing animal.
So what adorable things can Izzy do?
Come here, come here, come here, come here. You want to sit for me? Let's sit down. Let's sit down. There we go. There.
Now,
Let's do
when
a
he
back
sat
scratch.
down, that was quite a plop.
Yep, he drops, you know, their legs bend backwards like a fling of the boom down this way and then drop their whole body weight. So he's probably weighs in about probably 50 pounds right now, 52 pounds. Probably is what it is. So he loves his butt scratched. He likes a little booty scratching like this. He'll just sit here for hours and let you do it.
Now his coloring, Troy, is
Yes.
that the typical coloring for
This is the typical coloring. They have, there's genetic, obviously, recesses where you have albinos, and then there's ones that are called blonde where they have more of the light color and a little less black in them. So you'll see like some blonde ones as well as the white leucistics with blue eyes, things like that, which is just a recessive gene, you know.
Isn't he sweet? And he's got his little crown.
Yep, he's got his little fluffy hair there, his little Tina Turner look.
Yeah. And obviously this is something that you taught Izzy.
Yes.
Right.
What we started doing was when he was little, we'd scratch his back and kind of just gently push down on him a little bit to get him to be calm. And so as he got older, when you just touch him on his back like this, he sits down because he really, really appreciates being touched. And if you want to feel the hair, if you can, they have really, really nice feathers, almost like a fur. It's almost like a thick fur if you want to feel it.
Oh my.
Isn't that really cool? And he loves it. See that? He'll sit there and be scratched all day. And you'll notice it's really warm underneath.
Oh yeah, and how many layers?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that pretty? Look how beautiful it is.
I'm digging way, way down deep here, and I still keep finding feathers. Now, hopefully, this beautiful creature is not something that could be in the illegal trade.
No, because they're a farmed animal and they're not in danger. They're of least concern. So these birds are as common as cattle. If you want to, if you look them up or have them, I just think they're underestimated because they're used as a food source instead of really what they're worth, their value as a living creature.
Emus are large birds, so they of course would lay a large egg. And did you know it is up to the daddy emu to take care of that egg? He will spend his entire day sitting on it until the chick hatches. That takes about 8 weeks. Here's a fun fact for you. Emus have 2 sets of eyelids, one for blinking and one is used to keep dust and dirt out.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here. Because
Why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
no.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm gonna show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch The Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
So I kind of grew up all across the country. I come from 5 generations of military men. My dad is still active duty. My grandpa is retired Marines. I like going for runs with my dog. I love, taking her out to the dog beach over in Venice. There are so many things here to do on the Suncoast. My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter and I'm here for you.
The question always becomes, Dr. Glassman, when should we introduce drugs into a therapy, perhaps for arthritis? Do we start it when they're young? Do we wait? And another haunting question, when do we neuter and spay, especially the large breed dogs? Can we prevent some arthritis and other conditions? So I leave it to you.
Okay, complicated issue. As far as the spay-neuter, that has changed a little bit for the maybe medium to large breed dogs. standard industry has been 5-6 months of age we spay and neuter, both of course the males and the females. And SPCAs, it's a different situation. They spay and neuter like 8, 10, 12 weeks of age, so when they leave the SPCA they don't have to worry about them breeding, so that's a separate issue. But for an owner that you get a puppy, we think now, some orthopedic surgeons think that if we delay neutering and spaying until maybe about a year of age, the cruciate ligaments in the knees we may help prevent some deterioration of those ligaments because they're a little more formed. I don't know the philosophy exactly. I don't know if anybody does. But so the large breed dogs a lot of vets are recommending wait till about a year before we spay and neuter, and it may help prevent some cruciate ligament injuries in the knees.
Now, you've always talked about let's keep the puppies as quiet as we can, let them play, let them run around, no massive jumping and so on. But they're puppies, Dr.
Right, sure.
So this is going to happen. So now they're jumping and they're playing, and now you can see the pounding, and now you see, I got a lame leg here.
Sure. Well,
do we introduce a drug?
Well, if an animal has obvious pain or discomfort, then we treat with short-term drugs. Like you twist your ankle and you sprain your ankle, you're going to take, ibuprofen, aspirin, whatever you're going to take for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. Same thing with pets. I would never use drugs in the hope we might prevent some inflammation. I've never heard of any evidence that says, start puppies, if they're prone to dysplasia on some medication. I would only treat if they were overtly painful in some way. And there's so many drugs is a very big issue as far as all the different types of drugs that there are. When I graduated 33 years ago, I had aspirin and cortisone, and that was probably the two main things. And now there's all kinds of new drugs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories.
Such as
carprofen, meloxicam. They go by different trade names, but they're sort of like doggy ibuprofens, and you do have to be a little careful. The liver and kidney function have to be good because you can actually damage liver and kidney function in some pets, and some pets have died. And actually, when I used to work occasionally in emergency services, we would see lots of dogs that would come in kidney failure because they ate the chewable, they got into the whole bottle of the chewable carprofen, and they ate the whole bottle and they died of kidney failure. Now, obviously, if you use the right doses, that shouldn't happen, but make sure your veterinarian is keeping track with maybe periodic blood tests on kidney and liver function. And of course, if there's any GI problems like vomiting, diarrhea issues, just like any medicine can upset your stomach, then you may have to stop using those.
But Rimadyl is one that we hear of a lot.
Right,
Is
one of the brand.
Safe?
Yeah, sure. It's one of the big brand name drugs. If they're used, every drug is safe if used properly. But I like still some of the old-fashioned. Sometimes I'll have people start on appropriate doses of aspirin, and there's stronger drugs. We can do the narcotic category in different ways when it really gets bad. And I'm old-fashioned. Sometimes the pets don't do well. I go back to cortisone. Prednisone is it's a life-saving drug in many ways. So when used properly, cortisone steroids are safe when used properly. Some side effects, of course, but if you're old and you can't walk, you sometimes have to go for your last resort.
So as a protective parent, we're going to watch all of this, but always consult your veterinarian for the best advice you can get for your pup. If your dog likes to take you on a walk, stay with us. Up next, training tips.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first.
They stand ready to respond to any crisis.
I will never accept defeat.
They serve in their communities as citizens and as soldiers.
I will never quit.
They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
Training is an important aspect of owning a pet. And when it comes to your dog, age doesn't matter. They can still learn. So here is a training tip from Dawn.
So when you're starting a dog with walking on a leash, now Shelly is already pretty well trained and she walks very nicely, so she's a perfect example. When you're walking, you want it loose, and that's all that means. It's almost as if when you're walking with her, Shelly, there should be like a U shape in your leash, and she should be staying with you. It is okay if she gets a little ahead, but you don't want her pulling you. And if she, because, well, for one, it's bad manners. She's yanking you around, yanking you this way, and then she thinks she could go wherever she wants. We don't want that. We want her to know, you stay with me. You're going where I go. Now, if they are interested in something, you know, it's okay as long as you know it's safe once in a while. Allow them to get to it. Allow them to smell it. So that way you're not always holding everything back. But it has to be on your terms. It's just all a matter of teaching them who is the boss in the relationship. If they think they could pull you around, you're not going to want to walk the dog because you're going to be exhausted. Your arms are going to hurt, your shoulders are going to hurt, and then the dog's going to be the one to pay for it because you're going to be like, well, I ain't walking this dog. But if you have a dog where you know you can go out, come on, Shelly, and you can walk, and she just stays right with you, Shelly, then, you know, it's a pleasure. It makes it fun, and you don't mind walking with her. Now, with a puppy, when you're training this, normally, again, you would use the food lord. You would have very tiny pieces of treat in your hand, and you would keep it at your side. And the puppy would eventually learn you could either, which I don't have one, but you would lure with your nose to keep them by you, and then as that puppy is staying with you, you'd give them little pieces of treat. So they're going to know you are better than anything else out there. You have the treats. And over time, you lessen the treats as they stay with you longer, and eventually you won't need them at all, but you'll have a dog that walks very politely and nicely on the leash.
We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves him green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining. Download the all-new ABC7 First Alert weather app now. Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.